And you had a lot of success, obviously, with Dire Straits and huge albums and big tours and everything like that. And was it four albums you performed on? And then you decided to call it quits with the band. I mean, was that just you felt that was time for you? You'd done enough. You'd had enough of that sort of life with it all, or what was the decision behind that?
No, it's just there are lots of elements that came together to make, I think, I just want to do something else now. You know, we started to play very loud, which I
Hmm.
didn't really like. I was beginning to have trouble with my ears, although I didn't really realize what that was at the time. I just remember coming off stage and having trouble with my balance, for readjusting after being on stage. Um, so that was that element. The music was going away from stuff where I felt that the drums could make a significant contribution, or certainly be part of the conversation.
Okay.
It was getting much more kind of, this song is black, this song is blue, and starting to do rock stadium kind of stuff where
Hmm.
it's just not, just doesn't translate to the way I wanted to play. And then there are sort of a whole raft of personal
Yeah.
aspects, the dynamics between me and individuals, which I don't really want to discuss in this kind
Hmm.
of a form. It just sounds like sour grapes or whatever it is, whatever counter
Yeah, that's
proposal.
understandable. Yeah.
Very personal elements, which really I thought, yeah, I think it's time to do something else now.
Lovely. And amongst
So
those
it
something else things, you
was
ended up playing with Bob Dylan, didn't you, on his one of his huge albums? How did that come about? That sounds
right
incredible.
to leave. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that more than Dire Straits really, because it had such a good rhythm section. I played with a guy called Tim Drummond, who was just sensational bass player, but of great kind of stock. He played a white guy, Southern guy. Played with James Brown. I mean, a white guy playing bass with James Brown, and of course Mr. Zimmerman himself, and Barry Beckett, who had played piano on our second album and produced it really, Communique. And we went to Muscle Shoals, which is a kind of famous,
Hmm.
iconic studio in the
Yeah.
South in Alabama. So there were all those elements, but it was also, I mean, I was a big Bob Dylan fan from Blood on the Tracks,
Yeah.
Desire, Like a Rolling Stone, Nashville Skyline. So it was a big thing for me. And at first, my initial response was I wanted to run away from it because I was terrified that I wouldn't be able to function within that kind of environment. It's a bit like the analogy of playing for something like Leicester, where I grew up, and then going into the manager's office and saying, "Well, um, Real Madrid want to sign you, and we've agreed to sell you." So you think, well, yeah, that's everything I aspire to, but so all I've got to do is do what I've been doing for Leicester for Real Madrid, but it becomes a big psychological hurdle. I remember the first day in the studio, I was just with the cans on. I think
Hmm.
there's something in my head was going, that's Bob Dylan. So it's like I was playing along to a record that had already been made. And that's not what you want to be doing. You want to be in there, making a contribution. And the thing that I found, apart from Tim and Barry, and of course Mark was on rhythm, he's just a great rhythm player. And he did the lead and all the kind of filigree stuff as overdubs later. But so it's a really bloody good band. And the thing with Dylan was that you basically, if you didn't have anything within the first three attempts to record something, he would move on. But also within that kind of superstructure, his vocal would be what would survive, what we call the master vocal. In other words, the vocal that you hear on the record and CD. Whereas most people of that era would, because basically they might sing for reference, but it wouldn't be any attempt whatsoever to give a definitive performance. They would be focusing on aspects of the backing track, You know, the drums the way I want.
Yeah.
Is it feeling? You know, is this the right tempo? And oh, this is the first verse, same as the second verse, same as the first. Then maybe a little kind of indication of on a guitar or a piano what was going to happen. But basically, just looking at the bass, the drums, rhythm guitar, maybe a keyboard. You know, so with Bob, at least you got that. You got a really good insight into where he wanted to be, and I just really appreciated that. And it was a really good, groundbreaking record for me to actually function in that kind of high octane environment. Whereas Dire Straits didn't feel like that to me, you know, at all, at any stage.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't feel. It just felt like just a bunch of lads who played a bunch of songs, and all of a sudden they started playing to more than a bunch of people. And so it was never had that real kind of significance of being something more groundbreaking, you know. But to play with Dylan, you know, is already a living legend.
Absolutely.